Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for checking it out if you're new. 2025 is coming to a close, and so with that, we have, of course, a million movies to talk about this year. I saw a lot of movies, I believe, if I checked my letterbox correctly. I saw about 50 movies this year. That's, of course, only counting new releases in 2025. So we've got a lot to talk about today. Of course, as always, these are my own personal opinions, and ranking movies is kind of silly because art is subjective and we all love different things. So please don't take offense to my rankings here in this video. If you want to make your own ranking, the link to this tier list is in the description. So as you can see over here, we have S, A, B, C, D, and haven't seen, because of course, I didn't get to every movie this year, unfortunately. Life gets busy and you can't always make it to the movies. So if we get my haven't seens out of the way, let's see. I unfortunately did not make it out for Twinless. I really wanted to see it. I didn't make it for Drop. I haven't seen Final Destination Bloodlines because I haven't watched any of the other movies, even though it probably doesn't really matter. I have not watched Good Boy yet. Did not see Life of Chuck. I am so upset I have not gotten to F1 yet. It's sitting over on my movie shelf. I bought it on Black Friday on Blu-ray, but I have not watched it yet. Didn't make it out for Shelby Oaks. I did not make it out for The Conjuring Last Rite because everybody said it was bad, so I didn't bother. I'm really upset about these two here. I did not make it out to Zootopia 2 because that movie is packed in my town. I don't know what it is about the people here. The children love Zootopia, apparently. I did not gauge that correctly. I thought the franchise was kind of in a lull / nobody cared. Showtimes for that are sold out like every screening, and so I just didn't get around to it because I was kind of trying to wait, so I didn't have to see it in a theater full of families. So didn't make it there. And then Marty Supreme just came out and is, of course, in that sort of awkward, semi limited release from A24, where it only has like 4 showtimes a day, and the one's at 10 in the morning, and the other one's at 10 p.m., and the other ones are while you're at work. So I unfortunately did not make it out for Marty Supreme yet. I did not make it to Rental Family for the same reason. And then Black Phone 2, I just kind of drug my feet, and by the time I was ready to see it, it was out of theaters. And yes, I'm aware that this still isn't every movie from last year. Of course, there are things like Tron Ares that I'm probably never going to watch at this point. But overall, this is what I have seen, and now let's talk about it. They are in no particular order down here, so I am just kind of going to be going as they come. / let's start off with one that pretty much everybody on planet Earth has seen, and that's K-pop Demon Hunters. I'm going to drop that up here in A tier right now because that movie surprised us all. If you don't know the background of this movie, really look into it. This was a Sony produced animated movie that they've been working on since like 2019. And ultimately, Sony kind of gave up on this movie and sold it to Netflix for, a dime on the dollar. And now it's the most watched movie on Netflix ever because it's got great music. The characters are very interesting. The story, I think, could use a little more room to breathe. Like, I know the director has talked about that there's a much longer version of the movie. They were asked to cut it down. But overall, I think the product we got is great, and so I'm going to put it here in A tier. And I'm just going to kind of put one in each category right now so we can kind of set a baseline. So, like, if I come down here and grab, I'm sorry, this is Grand Theft Hamlet, and I feel bad for doing this because it's an indie film, but this goes down in D tier because basically, quick pitch if you haven't heard of it, Grand Theft Hamlet is the idea of during COVID, two friends decide to put on a production of Hamlet in GTA 5, the online portion, because of course they're theater nerds and can't go out to the theater. However, for me, where this movie really kind of just fails is it doesn't lean heavily enough into the wackiness, I feel like, of the fact that it's in GTA. Like, they will have scenes where people are shooting and blowing things up as they do in GTA. And then there are other scenes where they're just sitting in the apartment having a conversation. And, like, yes, I understand that in a movie, you would have those dialogue scenes too, but it's not exciting to watch the two GTA characters who, they don't emote or move their mouths or anything. So it just kind of is boring to watch at times. Plus, the creators behind this film have admitted that parts of the wackiness were scripted to add like levity to it, and overall it feels scripted. Like, I'm sorry, this is like a 90-minute GTA session that could have been a great 20-minute YouTube video. To set a precedence for S tier, I'm going to go ahead and grab an easy one that I think everybody would agree on, and that's Ryan Coogler's Sinners. What is there to say about this movie that hasn't already been said? The cinematography, the music, the choice on actors and direction is spectacular. This might be the best movie of the year. We'll see as we continue adding movies to this list. But every decision is so well thought out in this movie, and everything serves a purpose here. Alright, and we've got C tier here, and I'm going to grab The Monkey. The Monkey was a horror movie / horror comedy from earlier this year, in which a family has to deal with a cursed monkey that, kills people when it's turned on. And I thought it was fine. Like, I think the kills and the gore / horror comedy of it is fun. But I also think a lot of this movie is just people talking about how sad or upset they are about life / what the monkey is doing. And I don't think it goes as wacky as it could. Or maybe it just outstays its welcome. Again, same problem as Grand Theft Hamlet could have been a great 20-minute YouTube video. I will give it credit though. This movie did kind of have me start to think on the Theo James as Batman fan casting. Like, I could hear it kind of in his voice and his mannerisms. And then we have B tier, which is the middle of the pack for this style of ranking. And let's see, who do we have that can go in B tier? You know what might set a good precedence for B tier / maybe not is Fantastic Four First Steps. I'm going to put that as our initial B tier placement because this movie had so much potential, but ultimately it feels like I'm starting to see a pattern here with movies this year of it's missing some of its bones. I know that they cut this movie down. This movie is like the shortest Marvel movie ever, or one of the shortest. It's also only like 90 to 100 minutes or something like that. It's super short. So yeah, I think it is serviceable. It's middle of the pack. It's not terrible, but it is definitely not the greatness that is Sinners or K-pop Demon Hunters. Alright, so next up on the list, we have Bring Her Back. This is a horror movie from A24. It is from the two directors. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on their name. The ones who did Talk to Me. And I would put this up here in A with K-pop Demon Hunters. I thought this movie was really interesting. It's a more scaled down horror movie than some people might have been expecting. But overall, I think it's pretty enjoyable. I think that these brothers know how to make you squirm in your seat because these movies are gross, and this one does not hold back. I could see where maybe some people would find it a bit too small scale / there are some unbelievable moments in the film, but overall, I had a really good time with it. And wow, this certainly is an interesting order that Tiermaker has put this in, because then we have the bad guys too, which I would go back and forth on A or B tier. The first Bad Guys, I would probably put down in B. Like, I thought it was okay, but I actually found the Bad Guys 2 to be really funny. Like, these are almost, I feel silly comparing every heist movie to Fast and Furious, but these almost are like Fast and Furious / Ocean's 11 for children / families. Like, they're not as serious as the Ocean movies, so that's why I lean more towards Fast and Furious. But they're, like, entertaining enough. You know what? We'll put it up here in A, and then we'll see how things shake up. We can always move things around at the end. Because then we have Novocaine, which is going down here in C tier. This is the Jack Quaid John Wick movie, because we make a new John Wick every year. And the pitch of this one is that Novocaine can't feel pain, which is a really interesting premise, because if you haven't seen the John Wick movies, he spends those movies just getting horrifically injured. And so for here, it's the gimmick of he's getting horrifically injured, but he can't react to it. And he actually uses it to his advantage, like the glass stuck in his hands become weapons. But overall, I also feel like they kind of lean too far into the gore slash grossness of it. Like, to a point that they lose the story they've tried to set up. And then we have the Chainsaw Man movie, which is also going up here in A, because of course, I love the Chainsaw Man TV show, and I've read the manga as well, and so I really enjoy Chainsaw Man. I think it's that perfect blend of like wackiness, but also like great action and animation from the show. And so for this movie, this is the next arc after where the show left. And I think it's pretty compelling. And it was a nice way to present this arc, without having to stretch it out over a season of television or however many episodes. They were able to do it in a movie. It was a nice release. Like, I wouldn't say, again, it was amazing. Like, I almost say B tier, but, like, I feel like it deserves A tier simply because of the animation quality, even if the story is pretty straight and simple. Speaking of straight and simple, we have Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which is going down in D tier to probably nobody's surprise. These movies fascinate me because they are so bad, but they're almost like critic or criticism proof, where it doesn't matter how bad they are. Children slash the Five Nights at Freddy's fans go see them and they make millions of dollars anyways. Like, I would say if I had watched this at home alone on Peacock or something, I would have turned it off and not finished it. I went to go see it opening night with some friends in a packed auditorium full of children, middle schoolers, fans of the franchise, and hearing everybody's oohs and ahs and reactions to fan service moments did improve my viewing of it, but I'm never gonna watch this movie again. And yes, you might notice here that I have some not necessarily movies, but some filmed plays slash TV specials on this list. Like, we have the Next to Normal Pro Shot, which I feel like has to go up in S tier. This is the pro shot of the West End revival starring Jack Wolf. And this pro shot is a perfect pro shot. Like, they even now have it aired on PBS for free. Anybody could watch it. It's now over on Broadway HD, which is the Broadway Pro Shot streaming service. And the PBS version was censored, but they've actually put enough thought and care into this version of the show that it literally has an uncensored version over on Broadway HD. And so, if you have not seen the stage show, I would say this is a great way to check it out, as well as I had a great reaction. Like, I feel silly putting it up here because it's not a movie, so to say. It is a stage show, but I mean, there was still effort put into a pro shot of a musical. You do have to think about camera angles, what you shoot and don't shoot, staging, lighting, things like that make it a little different from just performing it on a normal, Wednesday matinee. So overall, like I said, a perfect pro shot of a musical. And then we have Friendship, which I think I would put maybe in B, drifting down to C. So you see, I am not as familiar with Tim Robinson as other people are. I'm aware of I Think You Should Leave. Like, I have watched clips of it. I have not watched the show in its entirety. I do think Tim Robinson's a funny guy, but for this movie, I feel like the bits don't go long enough. Like, they have to quickly, they have the bit where they're in the sewer, and now we have to be done in the sewer because now we have to go do the car bit. And friend of the channel, Phil with 1L, pointed out that in this movie, part of I Think You Should Leave is that Tim Robinson is the only one acting crazy, versus in this movie, everyone is crazy, and therefore it makes it way less interesting to watch. And then we have Warfare, which is going to go down in C tier, I think. This is another entry from Alex Garland, who loves to just show the horrors of war and humanity. He had Civil War last year. And if I'm going to be frank, I feel mixed slash kind of nothing for this movie. I understand, like I just said, it is trying to show the horrors of war. However, I feel like it doesn't go far enough. In that, don't get me wrong, this movie is horrific and there are some intense moments, but it tries to like have its cake and eat it too, where they're like kind of like, oh, both sides are bad, but like we don't really see where both sides are bad. So for me, my problem with this movie is I feel like it doesn't commit hard enough, and it was too focused on being that like in the moment, almost, one scene the entire movie, one sequence, one location, and it just became a very long watch in my opinion. And then we have Together. Together, I think, is going to go in B. It's either B or C territory. And this movie started out interesting with the two leads, Dave Franco and Alison Brie, who find themselves in this mystical, thing that's pulling them together. Not to spoil anything in the movie, that's literally the premise. But I also kind of hate this movie because it treats you like you're stupid. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm aware of Hitchcock's rule of three, where you introduce something three times to make sure the audience understands it. But this movie talks to you like you're stupid. I'm sorry. They explain what's going on like every 10-15 minutes in this movie. Either one of the two main characters reiterates it or a new character shows up to explain it. So for me, I felt like it was kind of robbed the movie of its mysticism because it was just outright telling me what was going on. Even though the characters would then be like, oh my god, what's happening? And it's like, you just explained to each other like 5 minutes ago what was happening. Why are you still freaking out? And so for me, I don't know. Like, I think it's an enjoyable time, but again, it treats you like it's stupid. We're gonna leave it in B for now, and we'll see later. This one, some of you might have seen down here and laughed at. This is Zombies 4, Dawn of the Vampires. I am not, this franchise isn't for me. I only watched this movie because I watched it with Morgan M. Steele, who is the resident zombies expert. But yeah, this is the fourth entry in the Zombies franchise, and this one is literally a like passing of the torch movie where we introduce all the daywalkers and vampires, and our original cast are kind of barely in the movie. And so it's that awkward, I think, transitional movie where the original cast have grown too old for these roles and want to go on. And so yeah, it's fun. I'm sure people who enjoy these movies enjoyed it more than me. I'm never gonna watch it again, but here it is. But obviously it's a better movie, I think, than either of these two. Again, we're gonna play around with the placements of things after we get everything situated. So next up we have Eternity, and this movie is from A24, and the premise of this movie is a woman passes away, and in heaven, so to speak, or the afterlife, limbo, they play around. They never put a definitive label on it. The movie says whatever you want to call it. But essentially, in limbo, she has to decide which one of her two husbands, because she was previously married, he passed away, she remarried. So she has to decide which of her husbands she is going to spend the rest of eternity with. In this movie, I thought I really enjoyed it. Like, I'll fully admit, maybe it's because I had like some personal investment in this story because I have family members who have remarried. So it did kind of drudge up those feelings of like, oh God, what would they do in that scenario? And I thought it was really beautiful. And the movie really doesn't pick a side until the end. You really are wondering who she should go with and who she should be with, or maybe she should be with no one. Like, it's a great exploration of life and what love is. And I really enjoyed this one. And so I'm wavering. I don't know if it belongs in S, maybe the top of A, but I'm going to put it up here. We can play around later. Next up, we have One of Them Days. This was, I think, maybe the first movie I watched this year. This is a super early, like January or February release of this year. This is a comedy about two roommates who are trying to pay rent and just having one of them days. And I thought it was really fun. Like, it's not going to change your life up in A tier. It's definitely not as bad as these movies. Like, I want to say it's middle of the road B tier. It's a fun watch. Like, I believe it's now on Netflix. Yes, it is currently streaming now on Netflix, and I would say go check it out if you haven't already. This movie doesn't have fair shot. This is Batman Ninja 2 versus Yakuza Gang. And uh, this is, yeah. These movies aren't for me. I'm sure other audiences or other people find them more interesting. I only watched it because I'm a big DC nerd and I heard people talk about like the Batman Superman dynamics that are in this one. But like, again, it's only in D tier because it's not for me. It's not the worst movie ever, but I'm never going to watch it again. Okay, so this one is tricky. This is Cinderella's Castle, which is a Star Kid musical. If you're not familiar with Star Kid, they develop a bunch of indie stage shows and they film pro shots and upload them to YouTube for free. They have done the Hatchetfield trilogy, and this is where I find it hard because the craft behind this show is pretty cool. It's one of, I think, Star Kid's most ambitious shows, production wise. But I think the script isn't as memorable or the songs aren't as fun as anything else Star Kid has produced. So I think I'm going to put it down here and see, which I feel bad for because, again, I think it's more interesting than all of these. But not something I'm not sure if I'll ever revisit it. And speaking of things I'm never going to revisit, we have Oh Hi, which is a movie about Logan Lerman and his girlfriend as they go off. Well, I guess not his girlfriend, they're a situationship. And in that situationship, when they try to explore something spicy, he ends up handcuffed to the bed, and then they spend the whole movie working out their situationship. And I thought this movie was fun, but I thought it's overstayed its welcome. Like, I want to say B tier, middle of the road, but I also feel like it falls down into C because of the way the movie ends. Like, I feel like this movie has two endings because there is a sequence that happens, and you're like, okay, the movie is over. That's a very funny way to end the movie. And then the movie still has 15 more minutes, and you're like, oh, that wasn't the end. So for me, I'm not sure where Oh Hi goes. I feel like it could be a high C or a low B. Like we can put it here at the top of C and we'll see if maybe it bumps up to B. I don't know. It is pretty fun, but then those last 15 minutes I feel like ruins it. You know what can go and see that I'm looking here right now? Is the How to Train Your Dragon live action remake. I almost want to put this down in D. This movie genuinely made me mad. Like, I usually can find something to enjoy about the live action remakes, but this movie is literally shot for shot the exact same movie, except they remove a key sequence which is essential to the plot of the animated version, and they cut it out of this one, and they were like, oh, because we didn't need it. And it's like, yes, you do. It's literally the crux of the climax. But, anyways, this is the movie you've already seen, but uglier and not as well written, clearly. So for me, I almost want to say it goes in D tier. It doesn't deserve to exist. But I mean, I could see myself, I don't know, like maybe rewatching it again to give it another shot. But again, if I'm ever going to rewatch How to Train Your Dragon, I'm going to go watch the cartoon. Next up, we've got Predator, Killers of Killers. This is an animated Predator movie. We got two Predator movies this year, one on Hulu and one in theaters. Of course, they put the animated one on Hulu because studios don't trust animation for whatever sad reason. But this is an anthology, essentially. This movie is 80 minutes long and it is four, like 20-minute segments. It essentially feels like you're binging a really good Predator TV show, which is why I put it down in A, because it kind of doesn't feel like a movie, but also, I mean, it's 4 episodes of a good TV show all stitched together, so what's wrong with that? I think they do some really interesting things here because the problem with the Predator movies is it gets expensive to do Predator stuff, with CGI and live action. So I think the Predator does great for its first entry into animation. And they really explore the different versions of predators and the Yautja and their culture that we haven't seen in live action. And I think this is a great entry, and it really utilizes the medium of animation to do things they can't do in live action. Meanwhile, we have Marvel Zombies here that I'm almost inclined to drop down here all the way to D tier. Again, this one actually isn't a movie technically. It is 4 episodes on Disney Plus. And the reason it is 4 episodes on Disney Plus is purely a legal reason because they wanted to put Spider-Man in it. This was written as a movie, but Spider-Man cannot appear in any Marvel movies without Sony's approval and hand in things, versus Marvel owns the rights to put Spider-Man in TV. So that's why they made this a show. They literally just chopped the movie into 4 pieces and uploaded it to Disney Plus. So I put it on here because 1, it's listed on Letterboxd as a movie, and 2, it's meant to be viewed that way. That being said, I think it's really messy. It's really bad. Bad power scaling, things aren't consistent, characters don't make logical choices, and it ends on a cliffhanger ending that tries to set up a sequel that, to be frank, is never going to happen. So for me, I felt like Marvel Zombies was a failure in that it didn't tell it didn't tell an impactful or meaningful story. I will give it credit. It was interesting to follow because it follows most of the phases, what, 4 and 5. I don't even know what phase we're in anymore. Marvel has 40 movies out at this point. So yeah, I just felt like it was all over the place, inconsistent writing, and I just didn't have a great time with it. I actually started falling asleep the first time I watched it. I watched it again just to make sure, like, oh, okay, I was sleepy. And no, I don't enjoy this show slash movie that's broken up into 4 pieces. Next up, we have From the World of John Wick, Ballerina, which is a crazy title. I mean, everybody just calls it Ballerina, but I think it's very funny. And this is, of course, the John Wick spinoff starring Ana de Armas that has come out like 7 years too late. But that being said, I do think this movie's fun. Like, I would definitely put it in B tier, middle of the road. I think the writing is not very good, but the writing has never been good in John Wick movies. But I think the action is still well done. Like, Ana de Armas is good in her action sequences, and the stunts and fights in this movie are still John Wick main series level good, even if the writing isn't there. Like, everybody refers to the John Wick movies as gun fu movies. This is like grenade slash knife fu. Like, she uses all kinds of different weapons that we haven't seen John use before. And the climax is basically just Resident Evil 4, which is one of my favorite games. So I fully admit my bias there. And then we have The Long Walk. And I feel bad for this because I have not read the book. I did watch other people's video essays talking about the book and the differences they made for the movie. And I'm going to be so truthful. I know a lot of other people are probably going to put it like up in S or A. But I feel it falls down to B slash maybe even C territory for me. I don't know. I think they changed the things they changed for a reason, but ultimately I also kind of feel like make the ending unsatisfying. And it is just kind of a meandering movie, which I know is the point. But I feel like there was more we could have fleshed out, like the Major and other characters who don't get any screen time in this movie, and ultimately, I don't know, like it didn't speak to me like it spoke to other people, clearly. But you know what did talk to me? Down here, it's Begonia. I loved this movie. I thought Begonia was a great time. If you know nothing about this movie, go in blind, skip to the time shown on screen right now. I'm not going to get into spoilers, but I am going to say the premise. Okay, three, two, one. So the premise for this movie is that Emma Stone plays the CEO or an executive at a pharmaceutical company who is kidnapped by two conspiracy theorists who believe she is an alien. And the entire movie is a back and forth power dynamics between the three of them, between Emma Stone and these two conspiracy theorists, where she stands her ground and is so powerful. And, she's a CEO, she's smart about things. But they're also big, strong men who have guns and knives and weapons. So I thought it was a fascinating exploration of the power dynamics between men and women, especially in a scenario like that, where she is a very successful woman and therefore she's viewed as alien. But then at the same time, they're ultimately bigger and stronger and more well armed than she is. And so I thought it was a fascinating, it's a funny movie, but also like scary and an interesting exploration of that idea. And that's why I think it has to go up in S tier. This next ranking makes me kind of sad because if you know me, you know I love the first two Avatar movies. And unfortunately, I don't think Fire and Ash does it for me. I think it goes all the way down in B tier. And the reason I put it down here is because I think it introduces a lot of interesting concepts, but also doesn't go anywhere with them. It feels like Way of Water 2.5 rather than a complete new entry in the franchise. And I think it doesn't help that because they're worried slash James Cameron is tired of making Avatar movies, that they kind of sloppily, I feel, wrap things up in the third act. Again, no spoilers, but this movie does kind of just say, okay, well, if we don't make another one, that's an okay ending. And it's like, I don't know if it's an okay ending, but I guess it's the one we have for now. So I felt like, again, obviously the technology is amazing, the acting is great. I love Barong, the new antagonist. I wish she had more to do in the movie, and I feel like that's where it gets stuck. In it's not ready to completely move on and be a third entry. It's still stuck in Way of Water whale politics. It's like we have to move on. And I don't think this movie was the next entry we all wanted in the franchise. But man, banger after banger, because now we have Wake Up Dead Man. This is, of course, the third movie, the third Benoit Blanc mystery, the Knives Out movies, directed by Rian Johnson. If you've been around this channel before, you know that I love this franchise. These are some of my favorite mystery movies out there. And for this entry, we of course explore a murder that happens at a church, which brings up a lot of discussion of religion and belief. And for a character like Benoit Blanc, with a director of Rian Johnson, I think it's an amazing exploration into religion, where it does not condemn it, but it also does not excuse it. It highlights how it can be a pilgrimage for some and a damnation for others, a weapon or a tool or a healing belief. And so I just thought it was a really great exploration into religion. And it's a fun mystery. Rian Johnson knows how to write a mystery. He's proved that with the other Knives Out movies, as well as Poker Face. So here, I feel like the mystery is a satisfying one that, as somebody who has already rewatched it over and over, it gets better each time. You notice new things, which is what a mystery is supposed to do. And I think this is Rian Johnson and Daniel Craig's best performances in both acting and directing. There are some sequences in this movie that I literally sat up in my AMC recliner because the lighting would shift in a scene or the camera shifts in a way that it was like, oh my, what's he doing right here? That's awesome, because that's what film is. Film is a visual medium. And so I think here Rian Johnson not only writes it beautifully, but also directs it amazingly as well. while Daniel Craig maybe delivers his best performance as Benoit Blanc. I can't wait to see what the two of them do in the future. And we still got a lot of movies to talk about, but we've got here The Day the Earth Blew Up. This is a Looney Tunes movie, and I think maybe B tier for now. So this movie's in an interesting spot because I don't think it's that great, but it's also was kind of special to see in a theater with other people. Because if you don't know, the Looney Tunes are kind of trapped in streaming slash legal hell right now because WB doesn't want to put them out in theaters. So the distribution rights for the Looney Tunes has actually been purchased by Ketchup, who is going to put this and Coyote versus Acme into theaters. And so I thought it was a fun time. Again, it's not going to change your life, but I thought it was an alright time at the movies. Man, the way these are laid out. The next one we have up is Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, which I'm sure you'll find no surprise is going up in S tier. This is a fantastic exploration. I know I've heard people who are fans of the book say that it's not accurate. Well, I haven't read the book, I don't care. I think the story that this version is telling is amazing and so compelling and beautiful. The way it does not damn the monster, but it also doesn't excuse all of his behaviors is fascinating while also highlighting the failures of Victor. And yeah, as always, Guillermo del Toro is a beautiful director of that like gothic horror slash romance genre, and he really sells it here. This is one of his best, in my opinion. All right, and then we have an interesting one down here. This is Wallace and Gromit with sorry, I'm blanking on the name. Vengeance Most Foul. Sorry, there are so many Wallace and Gromit movies. And I think I might put this one down in B tier, maybe up in A. I think it's a fun watch. I don't think it's as good maybe as some of the other Wallace and Gromit movies, like Curse of the Were-Rabbit is just iconic at this point, but that could also be nostalgia. But I think it's a fun, great time. Yeah, maybe it does deserve to go up here in A, because I would probably watch it over any of these down here. So, and man oh man, do the order of things just get more and more interesting down here, because now we have the Minecraft movie, which is an interesting little mess of a movie. Do I think it is good? No. But I don't think it's terrible. I think it's a fun, almost a so bad it's great, especially because the fact that the movie, it was like what, a week or two after the movie came out, that copy of the unfinished cut leaked and was hilarious. Like I again, kind of like Five Nights at Freddy's, went with my friends to a packed screening of children and fans of Minecraft who were having a blast. And I feel like I gotta put it up here and see because I would watch it again before I would watch any of these down here. Is it good? No, but it's a fun time. It's a silly movie. We gotta put Jason Momoa in more comedies. And then next up, we have one that a lot of people haven't seen, and that's Ne Zha 2. This is, of course, the sequel to the first Ne Zha movie, which a lot of people haven't seen either. These are from China. This is like the highest grossing animated movie of all time, made like $2 billion just in China alone this year, versus nobody here in America watched it. I go back and forth, and I don't think I might be in the minority here, but I actually like the first movie more than the second entry, which I know is crazy because this is the one that got the way bigger budget. The animation's better. They got celebrity voice actors, which I actually don't like. I don't like that the English dub is all celebrity voice actors now, because now they all sound different from the voice actors that were in the first one, who are all like indie voice actors. But I think, again, amazing animation. It's also super long. It's like 3 hours long. But yeah, I think it has to go in A tier at the very least. I think it's a compelling story, and it sets up an interesting place for the story to continue. I believe they have already been greenlit for a third movie, that isn't going to come out for like 5 years because this animation is so insane. It takes so long. But yeah, I think I'm going to put it in A tier for now. Oh man, what a messy bunch we have down here at the bottom because we have Wicked for Good. Which, if you remember my list from last year, Wicked was all the way up here in S tier. I said it was a perfect adaptation of the musical. Well, unfortunately, I think Wicked for Good drops down to B / maybe even C tier levels of cowardice. Because this is just basically the stage show, one for one, but longer. And the problem with that is everybody agrees Act 2 is the weaker half of the stage show. So you took the weaker half of the stage show, which is like 50 minutes, you stretched it to like 2 hours and 20 minutes, and all you did was add more dialogue and 2 unnecessary songs. And so I think they really dropped the ball with this one. They could have fleshed things out, had more time to explain things in the stage show that don't really make sense. But instead, they skipped out, and I think the movie suffers for that. Speaking of things that are stripped down to nothing, we have Elio, which is going down here in C tier for me because this movie is so, I don't know, like it's fine. It's serviceable. It's about a little kid who doesn't feel like he belongs, so he gets abducted by aliens and then, learns his place in the universe and whatnot. And yeah, like I get the message that it has in the movie, but again, the director and creatives behind this movie have talked about how, oh, it was going to be like an LGBT story. He was going to be gay and have to learn his belonging, but then we had to cut all that out. And so ultimately, I think by cutting all those plot lines or elements out, it leaves it as a movie that is just the like, yeah, be yourself is okay. And it's like, yeah, we have 700 better be yourself, that's okay movies. And I don't know. This one didn't have any effect on me. I left the theater just feeling lukewarm on it. Meanwhile, a movie I had a great time with was The Naked Gun. I was so worried about this movie because I watched the 3 Naked Gun films before going to see this one for the first time. And they are hilarious. Like, I think that first movie is like 5 stars, perfect comedy. And these are like the ridiculous, like, parody spoof level comedy where things are ridiculous. And it's hard. We haven't had a good parody / spoof movie in how long? And so this entry with Liam Neeson, people were worried about it, like, oh man, it's not gonna be as funny. They're gonna treat it all serious. And it's like, no, they did not. Not in any way. And so I had a fun time in theaters with this one. Man, some crazy bangers and some crazy misses left on this list. We have one battle after another, which I think has to go up in A tier. I know a lot of people are going to put it up here in S. Maybe I need to rewatch it now that it's out on streaming and digital. But I fully admit, this movie maybe didn't get a fair shake from me because where I live, my local theater was not showing it. So I had to travel out of town to another AMC, and the AMC was run down, gross, dirty. They literally had like a sign on the front door that was like, "We're sorry, we have no AC or heat. It's broken. Like, bring a blanket if you're cold." And so I don't know. Like I said, maybe this screening was sullied for me by the gross, dirty AMC. But I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I think it's fun and an interesting story and maybe is better upon rewatch. But I think it's good, but not S tier level good. What is S tier level good though and is genetically made just for me is Weapons. Zach Krieger, I love you. I love your work. I'm so excited for your Resident Evil movie. The way he balances comedy and horror is fascinating. If you don't know what this movie's about, it's about a community that is impacted when all of the school children in one specific class disappear at 2:17 a.m. And it's about the community having to solve what happened slash deal with their grief and emotions over that loss. And I loved it. I thought it was fascinating. It is written based off of Krieger's real life experience of finding out one of his good friends had passed away at 2:17 a.m. And so I thought it was very interesting the way they balanced that, and that it's such a true story of just the shock and chaos that comes out of that, while also being very funny because it's a horror comedy. So I was terrified. I was laughing. It was a great time. I love this movie. It gets better upon rewatch. You notice more details once you know what the mystery or twist is. And so I would definitely say give Weapons a shot if you haven't already. Man, we might have to shuffle some of these around because now we have Companion, which is also going up in A tier. If you don't know the twist of this movie, don't research anything, skip ahead to the time shown on screen. But I thought this was a fascinating story. This is a story where Jack Quaid has his robot girlfriend. And it's, of course, you think it's just going to be your stereotypical robot gone bad story, but it's really not. It's smarter than that. And it tells a story where you can sympathize with the machine rather than the people. And it's so smart the way it plays around with typical robot story tropes. And Jack Quaid, of course, I don't know. Somebody needs to check on that man because he's played like concerning individual too many times at this point. All right, next up, we have 28 Years Later. This is the sequel to 28 Days Later, obviously, and is set in the zombie apocalypse that has only impacted the UK, which is just hilarious. Like the fact that that wouldn't spread everywhere immediately is such a funny concept for this franchise. But I know a lot of people didn't like this movie, but I actually did. I think it goes up in A. I thought it was a fascinating exploration into grief and the despair and dismay of the apocalypse, while also showing hope and belief in the future. And I am excited for the Bone Temple coming up in like 2 weeks here in January. Next up, we've got Mickey 17, an entry from earlier this year that is another big commentary on capitalism and how we're all going to end up destroying ourselves slash this planet. And I thought it was okay slash kind of boring. This movie's a bit long. I know it's based on a book, but for an entry from Bong Joon-ho, I thought it was serviceable. If you're not familiar with this story, this is essentially about Mickey, who is a employee for a corporation in which they clone you over and over again to use you in experiments or dangerous jobs that could kill somebody. And ultimately, it becomes that commentary, like I said, on capitalism and modern day politics with some stand ins. And overall, as Phil with One L said, when the commentary is so loud, it loses its meaning. And I feel like that's a good explanation for this movie, where it's just being loud to be heard without really saying much. Next up, I have the Black Mirror episode USS Callister into Infinity. This is, of course, a sequel to the original USS Callister episode. I'm sorry. This is bugging me. I don't know if you guys can see it, that it is not the same dimensions as all the other posters. It is wider than the rest of them. But yeah, I thought it was a fun enough time. Maybe put it in C because it was fun enough, but I don't know if I'm ever going to rewatch it. And next up, wow, this one is a hard one. This is Captain America Brave New World. This is, of course, Sam Wilson's debut as Captain America, Anthony Mackie's first lead film. And I'm sorry, but I feel like it's got to go down in D tier, which I feel terrible for, but it's also because of the filmmaker's own cowardice. You see, if you don't know the story behind this movie, to make a long story short, they filmed the entire thing. Test audiences slash the studio didn't like it, so they got rid of it and they refilmed the whole thing. And I think this reshot second version of the movie is boring and doesn't do anything interesting. Like the director has talked about, oh yeah, we had like the Serpent Society in actual snake costumes, but we thought that was too silly. And it's like, what? No, you should have done that. And oh, we had the leader with his big comic book brain, but we thought it looked bad, and it's like, what? No, like I feel like anything that could have made this movie more interesting, they cut out in fear of it being too silly, and instead you just made a boring movie. Speaking of a boring movie, this hurts my heart because this is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, the second half of the final, part 1 was called Dead Reckoning, and they were supposed to be Dead Reckoning Part 1 and Part 2, but they split them into two movies and then changed their mind and made this the Final Reckoning because part twos don't make as much money or perform as well as the box office. But yeah, the Final Reckoning is a mess. I'm sorry. It's woof. This movie, I don't understand truly what happened because Dead Reckoning, I think, is one of the best Mission Impossible movies and sets up Gabriel as an interesting antagonist, the entity as an actual threat that needs to be resolved, and it feels like it's putting all the pieces in order for one final Mission Impossible. But then here they spend the first hour of this movie like reshoot hell, where they have to be like, oh well, this from Dead Reckoning doesn't matter anymore, and this thing is gone, and don't worry about that. Don't ask questions about that. And it's like, wow, yikes, what a mess. And so ultimately for me, I thought it was a disappointing end to the franchise. Like all the stakes that were set up in Dead Reckoning are immediately thrown out, and they basically make a new movie here for Final Reckoning instead of it being a proper part 2. And it ultimately, outside of like that submarine sequence and the plane sequence being impressive stunts from Tom Cruise, has nothing new to offer to the franchise, and it is a bit of a wet fart to go out on, if I can be frank. All right, we've got an interesting final four movies here to talk about because we have Jurassic World Rebirth, which I think is going to go right here in C tier. I don't know, this movie's interesting because if you don't know the story behind the production of this movie, this is, of course, the fourth Jurassic World movie, the seventh in the Jurassic Park franchise. And this movie was literally written, filmed, edited, shot like all last summer to be ready for this year to come out. Like they made this movie in less than 12 months. Like it's insane. And so therefore the script is clearly a like first draft slash not a completed version of the movie, or at least not the best it could be. But it does introduce interesting ideas into the franchise. Like, what are the larger implications for health and science if we can clone dinosaurs and mutated dinosaurs? What does that mean? What do we do with this DNA? But again, it's pretty surface level. I love the way this movie literally plays out like a video game plot. Like they literally at the beginning of the movie say, we need to get DNA from a flying dinosaur, a swimming dinosaur, and a land dinosaur. So what do? We go off to the dinosaur island to find a flying, swimming, and land dinosaur. It's so straightforward of a script. Again, that it's kind of ridiculous and could have used like a couple more drafts or lookovers. But I kind of enjoy how weird and different it is and how simple the plot is. That being said, it's not going to change your life or anything, so I am going to put it down here and see. All right, and we have a few great movies down here left because we have Thunderbolts, the movie none of you saw. I saw those box office numbers. I know none of you went and saw it. But this is, of course, one of the latest entries from Marvel where we see that this is essentially all the side characters from the various movies and shows from phases 4 and 5 all come together to form their own team. They are not the Thunderbolts from the comics in any way, shape, or form. They simply stole the name. Surprised how compelling this movie is. Like, again, these are all the side characters from the shows and movies a lot of people criticize and don't like. But here, they actually stand out and you care about these characters. And I thought it was really fascinating, especially because almost half of this movie all takes place in one set and it's just them talking and having conversations, but you are like, wow, these are real human beings who have real conversations compared to just aura and hype moments that we get from superhero movies today. So I really loved this one. I know not a lot of people saw it. It's now on Disney Plus, so please go watch it if you haven't already. All right, last two. We have Predator Badlands, our second Predator movie of this year, and I almost want to put it up in S. I had a great time with this. If you don't know what this movie is, this is the first Predator movie where the Predator is the protagonist, the hero of the story. And I loved this movie. It is so fun. It is almost like a video game, kind of like I'm saying about Jurassic World, but it's much more compelling because it's about this young Yautja who no one believes in, so he sets off to go make a name for himself. And I thought it was a fun time. It's just nonstop action piece after action set piece. And I think that Dan Trachtenberg is got a really interesting trilogy here with Prey, Killer of Killers, and now Badlands. And I'm fascinated to see where the Predator franchise goes from here. I'm going to put it down here in A for now. I know I'm cutting off A tier. We're going to fix that in a second because we've got one more movie left to talk about, and this one has room where it's going to go because we have James Gunn's Superman. Of course, I'm just kidding with this placement. It's going up here in S. This is a perfect Superman movie and is exactly what we Superman fans needed in these current times where everybody says, oh, Superman is so boring and oh, I don't like Superman. And it's like, I don't think you actually know Superman if you think he's boring. This is a hopeful story. It's not just about him being Superman. There could definitely be a lot more Clark Kent in this movie. It suffers the same problem as The Batman, where he's Superman basically the entire movie. So I'm hoping in a sequel we'll see more Clark Kent. But as Superman, he does what he's meant to do. He's hope, justice, peace. And so I really love this movie. I think James Gunn really understands this character. I love the way this movie explores what it means for Superman slash Clark to be a hero and that legacy that he's either paving the way for or leaving behind. Because if you don't know, the original title for this movie was going to be Superman Legacy, and I really wish James Gunn had kept that subtitle. Because again, we explore what is the Kent family legacy? What is Lex Luthor's legacy? What is the legacy Superman hopes to leave? What is the legacy of superheroes in this world? Like, this, I think, is a great start for the DCU, and I'm so excited to see where it goes from here. Alright, hey, I'm down here now because I can cover the haven't watched. They don't matter. I haven't seen them. And really, the only movie that's behind me right now is Black Phone 2, so it's fine. I haven't seen it. But let's go ahead and play around now with the placements of some of these. Okay, so if we shuffle things around a little bit and play with some things, if we're looking at D tier, by far the worst movie this year was probably Five Nights at Freddy's. I want to say Captain America is like up at the top of D tier, where, like I said, I mean, this movie's not like offensively bad, but it's clear that it's been gutted and doesn't really exist as a movie anymore. It is a mess. And so yeah. I would watch Marvel Zombies again before either of these two. Like D tier probably looks something like this, where this is the never gonna watch again tier, because that's one of my big keys for a movie is, am I gonna rewatch it or did it make me feel something? All these movies made me feel either nothing or boredom or rage, and so these are never gonna watch again. If we look up here at C tier, again, USS Callister is bugging me that it is not the same size as everything else and shifts everything around. But I'm looking at C tier. Like Mission Impossible is a mess, but it's probably the best of all these movies in this row, / maybe even deserves to go up to B, because like the Act 2 and Act 3 are pretty interesting. It is just that first act where they have to rewrite the entire movie for whatever reason that makes it so offensively bad. Like I feel like maybe it escapes C tier and comes up here to B. But then if we're looking at C tier, I would almost say that Jurassic World Rebirth is the best of all these, like on USS Callister. Like I would watch this and this before I would watch any of these again. I would rewatch Elio before all these just because it's a tight, like 90-minute movie. But yeah, I think Mickey 17 is not as bad as these three here. These three have nothing to say, nothing to do, and waste their potential. Versus Mickey 17 is at least trying to say something, but failing to do so. If we look at B tier is quite the mix of movies we have here. I would almost say that, yeah, Fantastic Four is the first good start. Oh, hi. I don't know. I almost want to say it drops down to C. Just looking at what else is here in B tier. Like, I would definitely say Avatar is up there. I have to watch Avatar. Wicked is not good, but I would watch it before, like, I would ever watch Friendship again or Together. The Long Walk. Would maybe watch like one more time. One of them days, I need to rewatch that movie. I have it right here in the middle of the pack, but now that I'm looking at some of these other movies from this year, I'm like, wow, that really wasn't that bad. Do 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 do. Yeah, like to say Mission Impossible is worse than these is kind of offensive. Like I don't know, it's such a mess of a finale. But I would probably watch it before any of these other movies. / like I can acknowledge the craft behind it is great. It's the writing that's bad. Like the stunts are great. The actors are trying with the script that they've been provided. But yeah, then that's how I feel with Avatar too. Of like the production is amazing, the animation and the motion capture and the acting is great, but the script isn't there. Same thing. Now that I'm looking at it, B tier is the I love the concept and the idea, but man, your script is a mess. Messy script. Messy script. Messy script. Messy script. Fun. Fun. Uh Messy script. Fun. Messy. 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 But messy in the middle of the road, like fun, fine time. All right, now if we're looking up here in A tier, things start to get tricky because these are all good movies. Like I would probably move Predator up here near the front, Thunderbolts up here near the front, Neja up here to the front. I would say you're like bottom of A tier slash venturing into B. I would almost say something like that. I would almost say I love Predator Badlands more than K-pop Demon Hunters. I would say this is like bottom of A tier because again I really enjoy it, but I also acknowledge that it's not the craziest or deepest story like how all of these have for messages. I guess you could say you gotta move to then. I would say that I liked the 28 Days Later and Companion more than One Battle After Another. Again, maybe my viewing of One Battle After Another was just impacted by the nasty AMC. Bring Her Back was also, I guess I could say, maybe One Battle After Another I found more interesting than Bring Her Back. I don't know though. Bring Her Back was pretty haunting. I would say Companion and 28 Days Later I found more interesting than Killer of Killers. But again, these are all A plus movies. And then if we move up here to S tier, this is where things start to get tricky. Because of course, Superman is amazing. It's a great comic book movie. It's a great adaptation of the story. While also, you could say Frankenstein is so haunting. Then Begonia is so funny and great commentary. And again, Next to Normal, I feel like is kind of cheating here because, again, it's a stage show, but it's so expertly filmed and edited into a movie slash pro shot. Meanwhile, Wake Up Dead Man, like I feel like maybe Eternity falls down here with Next to Normal in that I fully acknowledge it's not the greatest movie of all time. Like it should probably maybe be down here in like A, and something like K-pop Demon Hunters should be an S. But again, it got that emotional reaction out of me, and this is my list. You're welcome to make your own. But no, I think Sinners is the most well-crafted movie of this year. Like it's not even a competition. I think Sinners is a masterfully crafted movie, and I think personally, even though award shows are really just to boost people's checks and their ability to negotiate in Hollywood, I think Ryan Coogler deserves Best Director and Best Picture for Sinners this year. It is a truly masterfully crafted movie that tells a compelling and beautiful story. And I'm afraid the Academy is going to overlook it for One Battle After Another because they will do anything they can to throw horror under the bus. And then I think Wake Up Dead Man might be my second favorite. I went back and forth on these two for a long time before filming this video because I think that Sinners is amazing. I think Wake Up Dead Man is Rian Johnson's best work. He really stepped up and elevated the plate there. And then I think I would put Superman. And again, that might be my own personal bias. But it's just such a beautiful movie. It's such a hopeful movie. It teaches us all just to be nice to one another, which is a message we need in today's society. Then I think I would say Begonia has really stuck with me. It might be recency bias since I just watched it on the 26th when it hit Peacock. But I think, again, a fascinating exploration into the dynamics of sex and society and the upper versus lower class and conspiracy theories that this movie explores. While Frankenstein is a beautiful, haunting tale of maybe we're not all cut out to be parents, and nobody asked to be created, and what do I do with that once I am created? What is my place? Meanwhile, Weapons explores the haunting reality of what do you do after immense loss, and how does a community deal with that? And then Eternity asks you, what is love? What is a marriage or a relationship? What does it truly mean? While Next to Normal explores grief and despair in a stage musical that is masterfully shot and edited for your TV screen. And that's why I think this is what my list is going to look like this year, at least for now. as you can see, there's plenty here I haven't seen yet that I would like to get to, and who knows where they would end up if I do. But for now, this is going to be my ranking of all the movies that I saw that came out in 2025. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know your own rankings or your favorite movies from this year in the comments down below. Again, if you want to make your own tier list, the link is in the description down below. If you liked what you saw here and want to be here for more videos in 2026, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know when that next one's coming. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.